May, budget projections showed a $2.4 billion shortfall for the current budget cycle. This week, that outlook improved to reflect a $640 million surplus. I spoke with State Economist Dr. Kalambokidis about November's economic forecast, and I began by asking her what factors contributed to the financial reversal.
I'm really happy to be here again to talk about the budget outlook. There were improvements in this budget outlook compared to our May projection on both sides of the ledger, so both the revenue side and the spending side. So on the revenue side, we had an improved economic outlook. So remember, we produced our May projection just as the pandemic was taking hold, and the US economy was forecast to contract significantly. It's still forecast to contract, but the US forecasters are expecting a smaller decline in GDP now for this year than what they had forecast in the spring. So we have an improved economic forecast relative to May, and through the course of the summer and fall, Minnesota has collected more tax revenues than what we projected in May. And so those two factors, an improved economic forecast and already higher tax receipts than what we had expected, those things have improved our revenue forecast. So if you jump back to February to look at our February forecast, we have reduced the revenue forecast relative to February. But in the meantime, we did that May projection, and now we're raising the revenue forecast relative to May.
Well, and that May forecast was just, there were so many unknown factors, and certainly we have much more information now. One of the charts in the recent press conference about the budget forecast that I found most interesting was the one that showed the degree to which consumer spending on goods has increased. And you talked about that with the tax receipts. It's well beyond what was forecast. To what do you attribute all of this extra spending?
Yeah, that was really an unexpected development, and it did affect our tax forecast. A couple of things. First, consumer spending generally has been higher this year than what was forecast in the spring. And that's one of the reasons the US economic forecast is higher, because consumer spending has been higher. And that's likely because incomes were supported by federal payments. And then another thing that happened is that consumers figured out new ways to spend money or to purchase things, and they shifted away from spending on services that were restricted because of social distancing and toward goods. Lots of kinds of goods, but durable goods, including furniture, electronics, athletic equipment. And those things are, importantly, taxable in Minnesota. So people were shifting away from some things that are not taxable in Minnesota, like personal services, and toward things that are taxable. And that helped raise our sales tax revenue forecast.
Well, and I also saw that there was an increase in those sin taxes in alcohol and cigarettes and other things. And did that also contribute then?
Yes, that as well. So gambling receipts, alcohol and tobacco tax receipts were also higher than expected.
The budget report states that Minnesota has 184,000 fewer jobs than in February, and that unemployment has disproportionately affected lower wage workers. How do those job losses among the lower wage workers in particular impact the state's fiscal picture?
Yeah, we know now that a disproportionate share of the unemployment insurance benefit claimants in Minnesota have been from lower wage occupations. So we've had this uneven effect of the economic downturn across industries, across occupations, and across wage levels. We also know from US data that the lower income workers who have been laid off have a longer duration of unemployment than higher wage workers. So what that means is that for a given level of unemployment, the loss of total wage income has been lower. And so we've lost less wage income in the economy and consequently lost less income tax revenue and less sales tax revenue than we would have seen if that unemployment had been more evenly distributed across occupations and wage levels. And beyond the fiscal situation, what it means is that this pandemic and this uneven economic downturn is likely to exacerbate disparities that Minnesota had before this even started.
And so what possibly, I know this isn't your area of expertise, but what is the remedy then for those low-wage workers? Because presumably they would possibly rely on more state services in the future until those jobs can be recovered or retraining for different areas of work?
I think it means that just generally when policymakers are thinking about what do we do next in terms of helping the economy grow and helping people survive this economic downturn, is to bear in mind that unevenness, that this is not affecting, it's affecting every Minnesotan and it's affecting every Minnesota business, but it's not affecting everyone equally. And so targeting support, targeting services, targeting payments toward the people who are most affected is going to help the economy grow faster.
And speaking of that, the forecast assumes that there will not be any more stimulus from the federal government. But if Congress were to pass stimulus to help these people that we're talking about right now, what impact could that have on the projected deficit in the 2022-23 biennium that is, I think, about $1.2 billion?
Yeah. The U.S. forecasters, as you said, did not include more fiscal stimulus in the forecast that we used. But they said that if fiscal stimulus was enacted, whether it's by the end of this year or in early next year, that would improve economic growth in next year, calendar year 21. And so if economic growth is higher in the U.S. next year, it's likely to be higher in Minnesota next year. We're tied to that economy. That would improve tax receipts for fiscal year 22, because if you think about it, people pay income taxes on their 21 income in early 22, in the spring of 22. So that fiscal stimulus would likely improve, all other things held equal. There are lots of other things that can happen, but all other things held equal, that would improve the budget outlook for 22 and 23.
The documents that were released, I know more documents will come out tomorrow, but the ones that were released did not take into account international trade, agriculture, business investment data, which is usually part of the forecast. How are those areas affected by the pandemic and the recovery?
Yeah, we certainly did take all of those things into consideration in constructing our economic and revenue forecast. We just haven't yet released the full report, as you said. So there were risks in each of those areas. In trade, we still have tariffs on trade and trade uncertainty. In agriculture, we have had farm income uncertainty. In business investment has been a challenge was a challenge at the later end of the economic expansion that just ended. So all of those risks remain underlying the economy. It's just that when the pandemic hit, that overwhelmed all the other risks, and it's the only thing that that the economic press focused on, or not the only thing, but it's the main thing. So it did overwhelm everything else. But once the pandemic is over, those risks are going to bubble back up to the surface, and we'll be talking about them more.
Dr. Loehrke, Kalambokidis, it's always a pleasure. Thank you.
My pleasure. I'm glad to be here.